Well, it really upset me last night. And I almost started transitioning again. I don't know what to say, really.
Okay. Why did you have the thought to start transitioning? What was
I didn't want to age as a man, basically. Simple dysphoria sort of stuff. And sort of, I guess, why I started transitioning originally.
What part of this time that you haven't been transitioned this past month, what has been good about it?
Well, I got my arm operated on.
Oh yeah, that's right. How did that go?
I think it went pretty good. I'm still in a sort of cast situation for a week or two more. But I think it went well. I don't know for sure how it's going to turn out in terms of my use of the hand, but I guess we'll see. Hopefully it'll fix the problem. If not, then, no big issue, I guess. But if it did, then that'd be good. I might be able to do something. Otherwise, I would say there wasn't necessarily anything good about it. I guess I didn't have to take medication. Maybe that was good, because it's probably killing me.
When you say you didn't have to take medication, like you mean the hormones?
Yeah.
Because for the surgery, you didn't take medicine.
Yeah, I took just some painkillers for a little bit, but I'm off those.
When I asked how you were doing, you said I'm upset just now.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most upsetting part?
That I was allowed to transition, and that I wasn't given actual help. You and the other 3 gender therapists I've seen are, in my opinion, harmful charlatans, effectively.
Why?
Because you made me infertile. I mean, you put me on a path, not you specifically, but the first gender therapist I saw. It would have been any of you at that time. Just so happened to be that person. Put me on this path. It couldn't have possibly helped me. And didn't help the actual issue, which was the fact that, I don't even know. I don't know if we know what it is, but some sort of mental illness. And they don't care. The 3 gender therapists, they don't care. They don't think about me. They're doing their own thing. They're hurting other people now. They've moved on to other people. And you will too.
Well, I do care, actually. I mean, I always care about what's going on. That's why I do this.
Yeah, I don't think you're necessarily intentionally evil, but I do think you're evil.
If mental illness...
I mean, look, you're dealing with people who have very complex issues, and most of them are ignored. And the only one that's focused on, my experience, is this gender thing, if I go to a gender therapist. And I'm pretty convinced that there is no such thing as any of this. It's just all a mental illness. There is no such thing as a trans person. I'm entirely convinced of that at this point. None of them are real. And some of them are able to live in that delusion for their life, and they're able to enjoy that, and some aren't. You, the 3 other gender therapists, are just playing pretend. You don't know what you're doing. You have no clue what you're doing. And I know you don't. Because everyone I've talked to doesn't even know about, they haven't read the science. You haven't read the science. You have no clue what you're talking about. So where were you trained to help people on these issues?
My training comes from different places. My background is in multiple. I don't just do gender therapy. So I don't think I'm playing pretend, and I do think I come to the table with knowledge.
Okay, so what medical studies have you read then on gender transition, trans people?
I've been to different. I haven't read actual medical.
Okay, so you've read none.
So, but I'm not a doctor, so...
No, I'm not a doctor. I've read over 300 medical studies. Doesn't mean anything. I don't think I'm qualified to help these people. I've read over 300. You've read none.
No, I mean, I've read little abstract parts in different pieces, but I've gone to classes, I've done trainings, I've done, I've been to different places. I've done different things.
Yeah, but you have no clue about the science. You have no clue what's real. So that's why I'm saying you're playing pretend, because you have no idea what you're talking about at all. And neither does my doctor. And it's totally just bullshit. And it's harmful to a lot of people. I'm not convinced it's helpful to anyone. Some people are able to live in the delusion, like I said, but eventually most aren't, from what I've seen. And it is just delusion.
Now, what if I told you I read 300 articles?
Then I would be interested in talking to you about the actual science. Because if you had read what I read, then you might not feel like you're actually helping people. You might feel like you're hurting people, like I feel like you are. And like I feel like I've been hurt by you and by the other gender therapists who have allowed me to stay on this path for over 2 years.
You can't put me in the class of people that allowed you to stay on this path.
Well, I can, because I've talked to you for several months, and at no point have you actually helped me on any issue, but especially the gender issue.
Okay. So, and I'm sorry that that's how you feel, but...
Well, it's just the truth. I mean, you've done nothing for me, except just allowed me to dance around in this delusion.
Well, I've done what I've been trained to do, which is to help you to figure out what you need to do for you. My job isn't to tell you what to do.
Well, maybe it should be. Maybe it should be in some cases. For instance, right? For instance, one of your clients says they're going to kill themselves. What are you going to do?
In that case, then I'm going to probably call to get help, and I'm going to do something.
Right. But instead, if your client says, I really want to start hormones and I want to, do that, and I want to harm myself through that, I want to sterilize myself and, cause myself horrible health conditions and medicalize myself for life, well, then you're like, okay, well, let me set you up with the doctor. Let me help you with that. That's...
It's not my area of expertise.
But it's still self-harm. They're hurting themselves, and you're facilitating that. One instance, you call the police to put them in a psych ward. The second instance, you send them to a doctor to help them sterilize themselves and ruin their lives. And I'm speaking on behalf of thousands of people at the moment who have had this exact same thing happen to them, who should have been stopped and should have been told what to do and should have been told what's real, because some people who are mentally ill need to know what's real. Not just sit around and have a therapist allow them to, like I say, dance around in their delusion, and just have them figure it out for themselves, which is, like you said, what you have been doing for me, which is nothing, which is just allowing me to be caught up in this horrible mindset, which has robbed me of not only 2 years, but likely my fertility, has given me breasts, has worsened my health conditions. I'm by far not the only one. So you might say you've been trained, but what you've been trained in is bullshit. Because it hasn't helped me. I've seen many of you. And it hasn't helped many people I know.
If I came to you and I said, I think you should stop and I don't think you should do this, you would be having the same exact reaction.
Yeah, but at least I'd be fertile, and at least I wouldn't have boobs, and I wouldn't have worsening health conditions. That's the difference. That's the difference. That's the point. That's why you call the police on the people who say that they're going to hurt themselves, because they might hate you afterward, but at least you saved them. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening is you're hurting people. You and the other gender therapists are hurting people, and so did my doctor. And if I could sue you, I would. If I could sue all of you, I would. I can't. And guess what? After this, we're never going to speak again, and I'm never going to see my doctors again, because they have no help for me. They have no help for me, and there's no recourse for me. And this is how everyone gets treated. And you're just going to keep doing it to people. And you're going to think you're doing well. You're going to think you're helping people. Yeah, because that's what the zeitgeist is at the moment. That's what people are pushing, is this medicalization of everyone who has this issue.
Well, I'm very sorry that you feel this way, and I'm not trying to harm you. There's no intent behind anything I do.
I know, you're just incompetent. I never said there was intent. But incompetence at a certain point becomes evil, especially when you're dealing with the type of people you're dealing with.
I'm sorry you feel I'm incompetent. Why did you answer the phone today?
I guess I just wanted to see what you'd say to someone calling you out on this horrible, horrible, horrible situation that you and others have put people into because of your lack of help. Doctors, therapists are supposed to first do no harm, right? Well, that's not what you're doing. I mean, I know you can't help me. So you've not helped me one tiny bit this whole time we've talked, these past few months. Not a little bit. So I know that you're not going to ever help me figure out this transitioning thing. But what I do know is that it has hurt me. Probably as bad as anyone really can get hurt, other than just dying. And you still think you're right. You still think you're doing well. And that's why you're evil.
I believe that you don't think I did well for you. I believe you when you say that, and I feel very bad that you feel that way. I do not believe I'm incompetent. I don't, I do have things that I will argue against, but I also am going to say that you are entitled to your opinion, and you are entitled to feel that way. Again, my intent is I'm not going to ever, I told you this from the beginning, I'm not going to tell you yay or nay if you should transition. That is not my place to tell you.
Right, I understand that. That's why you're incompetent. Because you're not going to be able to help people who need help. You're just going to let them dance around in their delusion. That's what I've been saying. You're just going to let them figure out their identities and, I'm not going to push you one way or another. You poor mentally ill person who thinks that they're, something that they're not. And I'm going to let you sterilize yourself and harm your body. And I'm going to help you through that process. But I'm not going to tell you what to do because that would be wrong. That it's so hypocritical to call the cops on someone who says they're going to harm themselves and then to send someone to an endocrinologist who wants to sterilize themselves. It's entirely hypocritical. It's a mental illness. It is. It's a mental illness.
The reason that you get sent to an endocrinologist is because I don't have the ability to tell you medically yes or no if you should do that. Because that is not what my profession is.
It's not what the endocrinologist profession is either. They don't tell me whether or not I should transition. They just give me the medicine if I want to. So it is your job. You're the gatekeepers. You're the ones who are supposed to help people figure these things out. That's your whole profession in terms of gender therapy. That's what you're supposed to do. So you're not doing that.
So actually, you can't say that I don't do that because I didn't work with you in the beginning, and it would have been something we talked about if you were questioning me, because
it wouldn't have helped. You think you're so much different than this other gender therapist I saw that you really would have.
I don't think I'm different.
I don't think you're different either.
I think that you have an idea of what I'm supposed to do that's not right.
I know. It's not right to you because you've been trained a certain way. I understand that. I would say to you that the way you've been trained is evil and hurtful to many people and is going to hurt many, many, many people like me who are mentally ill, who do not need to be sterilized and have their bodies ruined. And you're just going to let us decide for ourselves, but we're mentally ill. So how are you doing that? How are you doing that in good conscience? Letting us decide for ourselves.
How do you feel if I say, well, I think there's a lot going on, and I think I should call and have you in it because you can't figure out. You wouldn't appreciate that. I'm not saying I want to do anything like that.
Neither would someone who's going to kill themselves. They wouldn't appreciate that you did that, but at least they would be fertile. At least they wouldn't have a ruined body like I do now. So yeah, I'd probably hate you. I'd probably hate you, and I'd probably never go to gender therapy again, and that may have saved me. That's what you would do if someone were going to hurt themselves. That's what you would do if someone they were going to kill themselves. But if they hurt, but as long as they hurt themselves within this gender therapy transition field, then you'll help them. Otherwise, you'd stop them. I'm not even talking about having the people with gender issues committed. That's not even what I'm talking. I'm just saying, tell them what's real. Tell them what's real. And you know what? I know you don't even know it's real. You don't even know it's real anymore because you've been trained not to. So that's why you can't tell me what's real, because you don't know. Because in this world where men are women and women are men, and you're not allowed to say which is which, you can't tell me what's real. So you literally couldn't have helped me. And yet you took my time, and you took my money, and you took our money in this charade of help, which could not have possibly been help. I mean, it's just so sick.
What would you like to see happen?
I'd like you to have to face the people that you hurt. All of you, gender therapists, hurt in court. I'd like to have your licenses revoked, maybe even put in prison, so that you could experience some small amount of what you put people like me through. And I'd like to see actual therapists put in your place to help people like me instead of hurt people like me. That's what I would like. What you're doing is not helpful. And if anyone's ever told you it's helpful, they're deluded in terms of gender therapy. They are delusional. And I bet you, I don't know. I can't speak to your intentions, but I bet you know it. I bet you know it. I bet you know it. Because you're not stupid. I've talked to you. So I bet you know it somewhere deep down that I'm not wrong. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm concerned, my life is very, very much ruined because of you and people like you. Gender therapists. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. I was at a bad place when I started. Now I'm just totally broken now.
I hear how much you're hurting. I apologize for any that I put you through this way. I understand that you feel that this is a charade and should be used. I am sorry that you feel that way.
It's like telling someone, I'm sorry you're angry. It's not an apology.
Well, you see it that way, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can say in this because you're angry. You have said a lot of stuff about how you feel right now, and there's parts that I don't. So that's being transparent. I'm not going to say, well, I'm wrong and I should go to jail because I don't believe that. I do understand that you feel that way.
So you think all the people who are transitioning are attempting to change their gender, sex, this thing that doesn't even exist, gender. You think that's good? And you think you're helping them?
I think if somebody truly wants to do this, and there are people who have, and they are very content and very grateful for the ability to take hormones and to do a transition. I've met many people who are.
I've met many people who aren't. So what does it matter how many people you've met? I guarantee you I've met more who are extremely pained and hurt and ruined by this. I've met more of those people than you have met of people. I guarantee you, unless you've met over 100.
I'm not going to go tit for tat on this because
well, that's the point. I mean, you're just saying, oh, I know people who have benefited. I know people whose lives have been absolutely destroyed by it. So what does it matter?
It matters, but here's the part that I don't walk around telling people they should change their lives in 2 days.
Okay, so but what do you say if your client's going to say, well, I'm going to start cutting my arm up right now?
So it's a difference.
Is it different? Is it different? How is it different? Because it's actually not as bad if they cut their arm up. If they cut their arm up, they're probably not going to die. But if they take hormones, they will be sterilized.
But you are told that when you go into the doctor's office, you are informed about all the.
I was not informed about most of the consequences that came to me, to be fair. And I was in such a fucked up place that despite the fact that I wanted fertility preservation. I was too mentally ill to do that myself. So I didn't do that.
So, because I had nothing to do with that time in your life, I can't answer any of it.
It would have been the same. It would have been the same, and you know it. You would have referred me to another doctor, and I would have had this same issue with that doctor, and they would have done the same exact things. And by the way, my doctor, I was apparently the first person out of the several, I think she's treated over 100 trans people. I was the first one to bring up fertility. That's what she said to me. That was the extent to which we ever talked about that. Of course, I was too mentally ill to get that done at the time, because I was convinced by you types of people, you gender therapists, that this is what was right for me. You know, delusional people can be happy. In fact, oftentimes it's the delusional people who are the happiest. So you saying that certain people appreciate and have enjoyed transitioning doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they're not delusional and that they're not going to suffer later. I mean, if you had talked to me the first 8 months of my transition, you'd have thought I was doing great with it. It means nothing. You're still deluding people. Maybe they live their whole lives in that delusion, but I bet most of them break out at some point and realize that they've thrown their whole life away because of you. And the science isn't as flattering as you might think it is in terms of transitioning. The actual science, the science you should probably read before you help people stay on this path.
So, you are very sensitive. I'm not sure where you would like this conversation to go, but parts of this are very accusatory towards me.
Yep, and you deserve it. They are accusatory, and you deserve every bit of it.
Okay. So
you are actively hurting people in your job, in your profession that you are getting paid for. You are actively hurting mentally ill people. I am telling you that right now. You are actively hurting mentally ill people. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
So if you like, I can refer you to somebody else if you feel that I'm incompetent. I'm not quite sure where you want this to go right now, but it's kind of abusive in the sense that
You and your people sterilized me, and you're saying I'm abusive because I'm upset about it. What is wrong with you? Seriously, take a step back for a second.
The thing is that you have been saying stuff. You keep saying that I have done this, but the thing is, I wasn't there when you went to your gender, though.
You're just like them.
But
You're just like them, though.
I wasn't there. So.
Well, you are just like them. So, okay, so if you're saying you wouldn't have referred me to a doctor ever, and I wouldn't have gone to an endo.
Referred you to a doctor.
Okay, so you would have referred me to a doctor. And they would have sterilized me too. So how are you different?
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you are. I'm telling you, you're not. I've seen 4 of you. Do you not think maybe I'm speaking from experience a little bit? You're exactly the same. You would have done the exact same thing. You would have referred me to the endo. I would have gone to the endo. I would have been sterilized the same. And then you call me, the audacity to call me abusive because I'm upset at you and and these gender therapists for effectively ruining my fucking life. Do you not see that as, do you not see that as abusive? Because that's abusive. Maybe you deserve people to be upset at you. Maybe you deserve to have your license taken away. Maybe you deserve to be put in jail or be sued. Maybe you deserve that for leading mentally ill people down a delusional path that hurts them and sterilizes them and hurts their body and gives them health issues for life. Let's just say I'm correct for a moment. Do you not think you deserve that if I'm correct? I absolutely think you deserve that if I'm correct. And I do think I'm correct. And I've studied more than you, believe it or not. Maybe not in the therapeutic sense, but in the science, I know way more than you. I know more than my doctor. That's clear by talking to her. And that disgusts me. And she doesn't even think my autoimmune condition has anything to do with the estrogen. Guess what? I come off the estrogen. It gets better. I look at the medical science. It says that's not even that uncommon. It happens with people who have autoimmune conditions. They go on estrogen. It can get worse. They can get new autoimmune conditions, which I did. But my doctor doesn't even know about that. Why do I know about it? Because I read the medical studies. Well, why hasn't she? Why haven't you? You haven't read anything. My doctor hasn't read anything. You know nothing. You've read the bare minimum of what you need to read to make you think you're doing okay, make you think you're doing well, and you're not. And then so I'm telling you, maybe you deserve these things. And then you say I'm abusive. You know what I think? I think taking up a position of trust where you are dealing with mentally ill people and then sending them out down a path of delusion and sterilization, health issues, I think that's abusive. I think that's just about as bad as anything else you could possibly do. You may as well be murdering people as far as I'm concerned, because you're taking their whole lives away. Their whole lives. And many people aren't as thoughtful as I am, and so they don't question it as quickly as I did, or intensely as I did. And so it takes them 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. I've seen people not question until they were in 7 years. 7 years. You don't think they had surgeries done at 7 years? Of course they did. There's no way back for them. To think that a year of therapy and someone's supposed to figure out these things, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And most people don't even have a year of therapy. I elected to go to therapy. I didn't have to. And it didn't help. I did more than anyone else, and it didn't help. So you better believe that there are going to be more people. And I'm telling you right now, I have all the names of the four of you, and I will do everything I can to make people aware of what you've done. For the rest of time, I'll have it memorialized on the internet somehow that you four are evil. And there are more out there like you. But you're not going to just stop, I'm sure once all this caves in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and we realize what we've done to people like me, well, that's what you're going to be remembered for on the internet. Because I know you're just going to move on. You're just going to, your profession just moves on. That's what psychology has always done. Just moves on to the next thing. You're acting like a child now, too, by the way.
I am just listening to you.
Yeah, sure. You're just wasting my time, is what you're doing.
Would you like to reschedule for next week and try this again, or what would you like to do?
Why would I reschedule? So you can waste more of my time? Do you want to maybe try and convince me? Maybe if you waste enough of my time, I'll go back on hormones. Maybe I will. And then you wouldn't be an evil person, right? Because I know you won't convince me. You just let me dance around in the delusion until I go back on hormones again, like I've done 15 times. And you just keep letting me do that for the rest of my fucking life. But God forbid you'd never tell me the truth. You'd never tell me anything real. You'd never get me back in touch with reality, like a therapist might want to do, and would do with any other sort of illness. Would do with any other sort of delusion. But no. Not with this one. Because you've been trained not to. So I get no help. And I just do this for the rest of my life. That's what you want from me right now. That's what you want by me setting up an appointment. You want me to continue this forever. Until you move on. Until you maybe move to a different state or get a different job or whatever. And then you just move on with your life. And I'm still sterile and broken because of you. And it is because of you. I mean, do you have anything that you'd actually like to say? Or you just want to just sit there like a fucking kid?
I feel that if I say anything, it'll be taken to your anger, and I'm not going to argue with you. That's not what I'm here for.
Well, you're supposed to be here to help me. Are you going to help me?
Well, I'm not here to help you. I'm here to
You are here to help me.
No, my job is to help you help yourself. It's to help you to find your strength to move forward. Not for me to fix something I don't fix. That's not my profession.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't be in this job because it absolutely is what you're supposed to be doing.
Maybe you should do some research on what therapist does. It isn't to fix me. I don't have the capabilities to fix anyone. I can help you form different decisions. Show you different.
Let me ask you a question. If a schizophrenic person were to come to you, do you deal with schizophrenic people at all? And they have delusions, no? They have delusions, right? So what do you do when they're telling you about their delusion? Do you let them stew in it for years?
Now, we talked about different ways, and usually when somebody is in delusions and they're having a lot of, they go to a higher level care. That's not my specialty.
Okay, so you don't deal with people who have delusions, and yet you're talking to trans people who are delusional.
No, I do talk to people with delusion.
Okay.
But they're living in a state of delusion all the time. I'm probably going to find them a higher level of care.
Okay.
Maybe it's what we should do for you. If you feel that I'm not confident, if you feel that I'm not helping you, I can myself where you can get better.
Well, what I'm asking is, what do you do for these people who are delusional?
There's different things. I can't give you a straight answer because each person is unique in how they come to the table. It depends on what kind of a delusion they're having. There's different delusions. Like, for instance, thinking you're a woman when you're a man? So I don't consider that a
How do you not consider that a delusion? How exactly?
I'm not going to do this because I'm not going to have that conversation with you.
Why?
Because you're trying to say something that I'm not going to, and I'm not going to argue. If you think I'm incompetent,
I think that's heartless, honestly, because I am delusional, and you're not going to help.
No, I help, and I will help, and I'll continue because I do care for you. But I understand that today you're really having a bad day, and I'm very sorry about that.
Bad day? I've had 2 bad fucking years because of you. You ruined me.
No, I have not.
It's your fault. It's all 4 of you. It's this whole profession. It's this whole thing. I'm delusional and you're not helping. And you're not treating me like I am. And you just said it yourself. I don't consider it a delusion. I mean,
I've worked with enough people who aren't having a delusion, who have very healthy lives, who have transitioned and have over 15 years behind them. And they are doing very well. And I'm very sorry. This is a good thing for you. But I also know that it is not everybody's story.
there are just as many people who are hurt by it.
But this conversation is going around in circles because you are telling me something, and you're telling me your thoughts and your beliefs. And I understand that you're really hurt by what happened, but I can't change what somebody else.
You think I